Hi, and good evening. My name is David. Use he, him pronouns, and today I am running a session of Voidheart Symphony, which is a game by Mina McJander of UFO Press. It's a Powered by the Apocalypse game in which you play people in a sort of contemporary city. Fighting against dark and predatory powers that manifest through a place, of concept known as the castle. The sort of play alternates between raiding into this sort of metaphysical world of the castle, and then finding out more information about the people behind the castle in the real world, dealing with your everyday day-to-day life and that sort of thing before going back in again. This game is being run as part of the Gauntlet, which is an online role-playing group. We get together, play games like this. We have a calendar where you can sign up to play games. We also have a number of podcasts and a monthly gaming zine called Codex. You can find out information about all of that stuff at our website, which is gauntlet-rpg.com. I'll put a link to that down below, as well as a link to where you can find out more about this particular game. Last time we got our characters together and built, or at least the beginnings of them. As there's a sort of a bit of a tiered system in place here with character creation. We also then had our first confrontation with a vassal, the corrupt hospital administrator Madeline Knight, who the group was able to successfully defeat in the castle. So what I will do first is just ask my players to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about the character that you will be playing. I'll go through in character keeper order. So, Treb, if you'd like to start us off.
Hi, I'm Treb. I use he, them pronouns, and I am playing Katie Schultz, she, her. She is a former teen actress, known for like a popular urban fantasy TV show, who is spent some time out of acting, trying to basically doing university, and is trying to get back into the business with a hospital drama role, and she is studying. She's shadowing some people at the hospital here to study for the role.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Anders, if you'd like to introduce yourself and again who you'll be playing today.
Yeah, I'm Anders Gabrielsson, he, him. I will be playing Harley Boulder, who is janitor at the hospital, who basically spends most of his time more pretending to work or doing his actual job than doing it. But he likes to take care of people, so he does little favors for the staff and the patients, and tries to keep people happy, basically.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And last but not least, Brandon, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you'll be playing.
Hello, I'm Brandon. He, their pronouns. The character I'm playing is Jocasta, and she is a former nurse. Sorry, the nurse. She was a surgical resident at the hospital. A real firebrand, loud, brash, attractive, and such, on her way to wonderful things when she was brutally killed by the bestial minion of a vassal. She has refused to go on, feeling that she wasn't done, and she was very angry about that. It's not clear whether Lucid, played by Sabine, who's not here, rescued her or vice versa. But anyway, she joined the rebels. She doesn't manifest very often, but when she does, she appears like she did in life, in scrubs, albeit with more tattoos and somewhat silvery eyes. When she doesn't manifest, she inspires the staff and the occasional patient in the hospital not to give up when things are bad. And they feel this, even as they have no idea that it's her.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself there. Thank you very much for that. So I will just quickly, as ever, just go over our safety tools. We will be using our lines and veils, which we have in place. Can obviously check those over on the tab in our character keeper. If you do want to add anything into there now or at any point, do feel free to do so. Or if you wish to add something as a line that isn't currently, or whatever else, that's absolutely fine. We will also be using the X card and script change, as well as the open door policy will be in place. I think we've all discussed these before, so I think I'll leave it at that for now. At the end of our last session, as I say, we within the castle, you defeated Madeline Knight, the hospital administrator, who had been kind of compromising the health of people to balance the books better at the hospital and try and seek promotion for herself. As I say, the castle is this sort of place where the inner psyche, or a representation of it, of the these people who exercise power around the city, manifest, and you can sort of go in and interact with their psyche in these places, learn things about them, disrupt the influence that they hold, all this sort of thing. So on completing the completing the destruction of Madeline Knight's presence in the castle last time, it should be noted this won't impact on the person in the real world, though it's quite likely that it will fix her her tendency towards greed and corruption, and she may start to make a bit of an improvement in how she is and how she lives. For this first one, we don't do a full breakdown on that after action moment. We in future runs, when you defeat minions of the castle, or vassals, I should say, of the castle, there are opportunities to sort of take the power that you have seized from them and use it in your own ways to affect the person, to affect the person who is the vassal, to kind of make them sort of bring them to make restitution for their crimes, or to make the city a better place, or various other things. But as I said, for this first time, we won't go through any of that. That will come later. However, what does happen on the for your first defeating your first vassal is that everyone will gain 1 rank of void. So this is you'll see towards the top of the character sheet. Towards the I'm looking at the wrong tab. Sorry. Yeah, towards the top of the character sheet, you've got obviously the bits where you can tick off the individual marks, and next to that you'll see sort of a number for ranks. So everyone will gain 1 rank, a full rank of void. If you have any marks, leave them as they are, I think, for now. This means that you will also get to take 1 void advance. which again are listed just below there. So this is, for instance, to gain a +1 to a castle stat, to gain a shadow move, to gain another gear option, to add a perk to your signature weapon, and so on. I think everyone's is the same for void advances. That might not be the case for our
Me.
Yeah. Although it may well be. So I'll also just
I'm not sure I understand what all these options mean. +1 to a castle stat, I get those were the sword.
So shadow moves they're basically moves that you can use in the castle. So if you I'm trying to think where they are. Bear with me 1 second. Oh yes, I've got the castle section hidden at the moment.
They're under the move sheets.
Yep. But yeah, there's that you've got the shadow moves. They're right down towards the very bottom of the character keeper, or
right.
on the PDFs they are on the second page. No, on the first page. Sorry,
They're down there. Yes,
they are basically your standard playbook moves. So you get to choose one of those. The other thing, actually, I just want to check in, and this will become very, very minorly relevant in a second. Who was it that actually got the final blow on Madeline Knight, as it were? I can't remember off the top of my head. I meant to double check again on the recording from last time, but I completely forgot.
I remember that. I think it was Jocasta who created some sort of tunnel through the file cabinets.
yes.
And I went through to try to help someone who was trapped in there. Was that Katie?
I believe so. Yep.
I think that's the last thing I remember of the action. So was it Katie who did the?
I think it was either Katie or Jocasta, but I don't remember which.
Blanking as well.
Yeah. I say I meant to. It's not like super important, but I can just. But anyway, I will give you a moment to fill out those details, and I will just in the meantime.
Sorry, what part are we filling out again?
So you've gained one rank of void. That basically represents your kind of link to the castle. And that gives you one void advance. Basically, every time you gain a rank of void, you gain a void advance. Every time you lose a rank of void, you also lose a void advance. They can go backwards and forwards over time. The void is recorded right at the very top of the character sheet, just under your name, essentially. And then the void advances are just below that.
Okay, shadow move. Gear. Take a shadow.
if we haven't declared the castle levels, like our
You have, those are swords, cups, coin, wands, right? Those are the castle.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, if we haven't declared all of them, do we fill them in now, or
You can if you want to, or you can just leave them until you use them next time. Next time you go into the castle, whichever
I guess
you
if,
prefer.
if you
really.
if you're going to bump up one by rank, you have to declare it.
But yeah, you can if you sort of know which one you're likely to choose for your, because I think for you it will be a +1 and a -1, then you can go ahead and do that now if you want, or like I said, if you want to leave it until next time you go into the castle, that's also fine.
okay?
One of the things as well that I will just while we're on talking about stats, one of the options that you do have as well, it's not quite as fluid as like masks, but one of the things you can do when you have defeated a vassal as well is shift around some of your stats a little bit, so you can kind of, it's not you're not constantly changing them like in masks, but you do have the occasional opportunity to switch them around a bit as well. So cool. Yeah, and I think actually I'm going to ask this of Jocasta anyway. I think, like I say, I think it was either you or Katie who who sort of got the killing blow in. So yeah, when you all leave the castle, you will come out somewhere in the city. And in this instance, just as you sort of come out, Jocasta, you probably will be there in kind of spectral form, anchored to the rest of the party. But so Jocasta, where is the location that you exit the castle, and what's its like significance to you?
This is going to be in the physical hospital, and the place where we so this is going to be a sheltering kind of place, and what it is it's the residence late night residence room.
Cool.
At the hospital. So this is where we would go after finishing a case, or if we couldn't sleep, or wherever. Sometimes there would be donuts or pizza or other junk food, because residents have a bottomless appetite. Indeed. And there's a couch, there's a television at the table with some functional plastic chairs, and it somehow seems much more comfortable than you'd expect, being just an occasion, an odd room, stuck away in a corner of some hospital corridor.
Perfect, thank you.
But it is this is not a place where you'd ever see civilians.
Yeah, cool.
They have to be very lost to end up here. You're only going to see mostly you're only going to see residents, and occasionally a doctor and nurse who come in. But they really don't have any reason to be here. It's almost like a rundown clubhouse.
Sure thing. Naturally, I realized I did that part the wrong way around anyway, but it does not matter. So the other thing, so what will basically happen, and this is before you come out of the castle, but that's where you will be coming out when you do. But yeah, before you come out of the castle, when you defeat this first vassal, the space will that you're in, the part of the castle that you're in, will reshape and reform. And it will kind of bend a little bit to all of your wills, and it will form a hideout, basically a location within the castle that you are able to access, and take shelter and recuperate and stuff like that. This location will be kind of linked to the to this residence rest room thing, residence break room thing, and you'll be able to access it via there. But I would like from each of you to ask one detail that's added to this place, and this, it's probably a room or something, but this we will be kind of detailing more out about it as we progress. Many of you will have options to add some stuff to this as we go through, but for now, I'd like each one of you to give me one detail that like forms in this hideout, that kind of makes it appealing or comforting, or a source of solace or whatever else to your character. So Katie, I will start with you. What's one thing that we see form in the hideout that kind of Katie brings to it?
Could you come back to me, maybe?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Anders, how about you? What's Harley, I should say. What's one thing that we we see in this hideout that reflects Harley, and how this makes them feel comfortable or welcome?
I think maybe like a small kitchenette with like a hot plate and a small fridge, with a couple of beers and some food you can heat up.
Nice. I like it. Cool. Jocasta, what's something in here that we see that sort of Jocasta has brought along to this place?
The just a moment. These are ordinary things, yes.
They can, but probably, but they might not be. It might be something stranger if you think that's more in keeping with Jocasta's feelings these days. So I'll just go to the exact page, but yeah, I think it's
okay. Yeah, it's just something the tiniest bit strange, which is that there's a nice television attached to the wall with a remote. And with enough fiddling, the television seems to be able to get anything that's broadcast.
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
It's like irrespective of, the fact that there are different download services, and, you can get, soccer being played in Thailand, on channel 895 or something like that, or even things that it's not clear why anyone broadcasts them, really. Occasionally you'll see people late at night watching, very odd things. Someone's explaining how to create stacked stone walls or something like that. Some documentary show that actually went out of existence 10 years ago.
Nice.
And so it's like, why would somebody be running reruns of this obscure, home show or something like that? But yet there it is. And it only takes you about 6 or so clicks through the remote to find whatever it is that you were looking for.
That's cool. I like that. Yeah.
So I think Katie brings like there's like a small like study corner, like with a bookshelf with different like novels and such on it, and a desk to write at.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Some notes.
Yeah, and I think per Anders there's always coffee.
Yeah.
there's always coffee, even if nobody's made any coffee. There's some coffee in the pot. Obviously, somebody must make some from time to time, probably.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, so that this you know we'll probably detail more about this at a later date, but for now, yeah, we've just got this kind of, and it is an odd space. You know, it's not entirely you know, Euclidean or whatever. It is this sort of like slightly liminal space, but you have these points of comfort in there that you can, as I said, you can kind of now from this point onwards, you can always get away to the hideout and spend some time there. And rest and recuperate and all that sort of thing if you so wish. And as I said, currently you can access it from this break room in the hospital. Again, it's possible either with certain character moves or with certain advances and stuff you can make. You can link it to other locations around the city as well, and sort of use it to get around and all that sort of thing. But for now, it's just sort of a little space for you to escape to. And I think I believe explicitly Jocasta is able to manifest there even whilst technically in the prison still, I think, because it's kind of linked to you, and it's a place where you can kind of go and speak to people. I could be reading that slightly wrong, but I believe that's the case. So yeah, you have this new hideout now that you've created, and you will emerge from this place and find yourself in this break room at the hospital. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to now start going around and filling out a few extra pieces on everyone's playbooks and detailing out a few connections between NPCs, or between your characters and NPCs, not just connections between NPCs. So we'll see. On the second half of the second page of your playbooks in the PDF form, you'll see that you have the couple of bits there that are your first, the sort of the bits for the first descent, where we set your particulars, so your details about what you look like and who you are and that sort of thing, and the crew covenant that you all set up when we started. Those we will leave for now, though obviously if you wish to change anything that you've already chosen, that's cool at this stage. The next bit we're going to do is where it says mundane life. When you return to reality, work through these. So there will be a little bit of going through on these ones. You'll see that the first thing it says, you'll have a role. Again, Jocasta, yours is slightly different, but ultimately works in the same way. You have what's I think important about your prison, or words to that effect. And you also have a slightly different set of stats, so I'll go through those separately. But certainly for Katie and Harley, you'll see there it says role. It says pick a category and an occupation. I think the occupation bit you've done already, and I think maybe the category you may have already given some thought to anyway. But you have obviously delinquent, prodigal, or traitor. As I sort of mentioned before, delinquents tend to be people who are young or up and coming, and still kind of making their mark on the world. Prodigals are people who are sort of living day to day, but kind of struggling to get by generally, or struggling to make a place for themselves. Traitors are people who are more established in the world, and are more enmeshed with the machinations of the castle as it exists in the mundane world, by taking part in society, essentially. So whichever one of those you choose will give you a black mark in one of your gauges. I'll explain what that means in a second. So yeah, for Jocasta, yeah, you instead say what your prison is,
Yeah.
and you will mark one of your gauges, which are different to everyone else's gauges. But yeah, so I'll just quickly explain what the gauges are and what the significance of them is. Again, for Harley and Katie, underneath the city section of the playbooks, of the character keeper, I should say, or on that second sheet of the playbooks, you'll see you have 5 gauges, they're called. They are blood, lack, infamy, heat, and fealty. So blood is essentially about how you are physically, and these all specifically refer to your actual real life, as it were, in the city. So blood is your physical, being, how well you are. If you're injured, ill, anything else, then your blood will be higher. Lack is how is sort of your material possessions and employment and stuff like that. So if the higher your blood gauge your lack gauge gets, the more precarious your living situation is. You might be threatened with financial ruin and whatever else. Infamy is how whether you are sort of have a reputation in the city for generally kind of an unfavorable, maybe, or certainly unfavorable from the perspective of like the powers that be. Again, the higher that goes, you're more likely to be shunned by society as a whole. Heat is how much attention you have drawn from the forces of the castle within the city itself. So things like the police might be looking for you, the even like actual direct envoys of the castle might be out in the city looking for you. Again, the higher your heat gauge is, the more of a risk you are from that sort of thing. And finally, fealty, which is how much you have compromised to the castle. The higher your fealty is, the more you are kind of reliant on the castle for your day-to-day things, the more you are enmeshed in what it's doing. All of these can have potential ramifications. They're also what you use in place of stats for making rolls when you are in the city. This uses a very a bit of a tweak on normal PBTA rolling mechanics. Still, it's still the same idea, and I have been assured by Mina that it's actually also the actual probabilities are also very, very similar. But essentially, what you do is when you make a check with one of these gauges for something you're doing in the city, you'll roll 2 dice, or if you have advantage or disadvantage, you'll roll 3 dice and drop high or low as normal. You'll roll 2 dice, and if both of your dice are higher than your gauge, that's a full success. If one of your dice is higher than your gauge, that's a weak success. If both of your dice are equal to or below your gauge, that's a fail. So it's a slightly different mechanic, and I'll talk to that properly again once we start getting into actual moves in the city. But that's just to give you an idea of like what these gauges are for. So they kind of work as both a bit of a damage track, essentially, for your city life, but they are also the stats you use to roll. They kind of fulfill both roles. It's quite an interesting little mechanic, I think. a little confusing at first, maybe, but I think quite an interesting one to see. Now, as I said, you will also note that in your everyone in the regular playbooks has one tick in all of those gauges that's marked in black. These are referred to as black marks. Black marks cannot be removed from that gauge except through very specific things. Again, this is usually like something you can do after defeating a vassal. You have the opportunity to remove a black mark as one of your choices. But in general, black marks cannot be removed. So you always have at least one in all of those gauges, depending on which of those roles that we've just talked about. Depending on which one of those you choose, you will have an additional black mark in one of them. So that represents kind of like a floor on your on how low your gauge can be. So you'll always have a certain amount of that. So, for instance, people who are in the traitor category always have a black mark in fealty because their lives are just always more entrenched in what's going on. Delinquents, I believe, always get a black mark in infamy because the castle is always suspicious of these young kids, causing problems. And people in the middle one, always have a mark in lack because they're just struggling to get by, essentially. So that's sort of the idea with those. So I'll give the two of you, Katie and Harley, a moment to just check over those roles again, decide which one you might want, and then if you just want to, whichever, depending on which role you choose, put a tick into that box. Then you can just format it to set it to black rather than red, just so we know that that's your black mark. For Jocasta, your gauges are a little different. You have 3 gauges that are specific to the prison that you're in. So you have a gauge in Torment, Fetters, and Abyss. These represent Torment is whether the people in your prison or in the castle in general hunt you. Fetters is how much people back home in the city remember you. And Abyss is how much of you has just been devoured and taken.
So so Fetters is a negative as well? They're all negatives, right?
They're all negatives, that's right, essentially. So the higher they are, kind of the more that aspect is eating away at you. Yours are a little different. Your gauges only go up to 3. That's because you never use, or you will rarely use your gauges for checks. I think there is a couple of circumstances where you do. Because you as the captive, you cannot normally act in the city like independently. So when you are making when you make actions in the city, you have to be using your possessing ability on somebody, and you make a check with their gauges. So essentially, those prison gauges that you have mostly just act as that sort of damage check track side of the gauges, rather than being a number you'll generally be rolling against. That's why they're kind of just capped at 3. We'll explore a bit more, because it's something I'm not that experienced with yet myself either, but we'll learn a bit more about how those work in there. So cool. So yeah, I will check in with so Katie, are you going to go for delinquent, prodigal, or traitor, do you think? I can see either delinquent or prodigal being appropriate for Katie, probably.
I think I'm probably gonna go with prodigal, just for the because she was famous for that role, but hasn't really done much since then. So it's like she's trying to recover her career, essentially.
Yep, that sounds good. So yeah, you can mark a black mark in lack. And Harley, what have you gone for?
I went with prodigal as well. I think that the one that works best for like he has the regular job, so he's not really a delinquent, but he's not. I mean, he's not committed to his job or anything.
Yeah, I thought that yeah, I definitely thought that Harley seemed like a fairly clear-cut prodigal there.
There's no spot to like mark this. This doesn't matter later.
No, there isn't. I don't think, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't really have much significance beyond the black mark that you start with. The other thing that we'll do now as well, just because it's related. Oh, actually, sorry, I'll check in first with Jocasta. So I'm just scrolling down to your one. So yeah, for you, your prison. Yeah, are you going for the?
I don't see where do I put it, but yeah, I'm going with the interstices, I think.
Yeah, that again, that makes sense from what we know of your character so far in this sort of like halfway.
She's yeah, well, yeah, she's she can't let go. And so the question that came with that was, who else lives here? Unquiet spirits, generally speaking. People who can't let go, either because they themselves are holding on to something in the world, or because something in the world is holding on to them. We're all trapped between not, it's better than the void, but it's not better than any place.
Yeah, sure thing. I like that.
It would almost be better to be in a bad shard than to be in the spaces between.
Yeah, cool. I like it.
Yeah, Jocasta wants desperately to be alive again, and it's never going to happen.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'm just going to quickly make a note of that.
And she picked up a knowledge, and oh yeah, actually that would be perfect. So when you get in advance, she picks an aspect of her old life she regains. So she has a working cell phone.
Nice. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So she has her old phone, and it works, and she can call people with it.
Perfect.
Not necessarily with good results.
That's great. Thank you.
There's someone alive probably who phones her in her old life and talks to her, and they're pretty sure that they've just lost their mind because they're telephoning someone that is known that they have seen dead. And I mean, she's dead and buried.
Yeah. Perfect.
Closed casket. Although it was closed casket funeral, but it was attested to.
Yeah, no, I like it. That's cool.
And exactly, and right. It's up to you. Who killed her.
Sure thing. Yeah, we can probably find some of that out in play.
Some really nasty piece of business. And I'm not just talking about the monster that actually eviscerated her.
Yeah. So,
but the minion who's or the vassal whose minion it is.
The other thing that I'm just trying to find where this is.
Contact.
Yes, we'll be doing contacts in a second. The other thing, And sorry, just bear with me 1 second while I let this. I know that you start with a number of ticks in your gauges, but I cannot remember where that
It says
is.
it's right under role, right under where we pick delinquent, prodigal, or traitor. There's gauges, and it says which one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So yeah, yeah, that's right. So with and I this might not be the same for Jocasta, but certainly
No, for me, I have
Harley,
I have a black mark in fetters.
yeah, that's it.
Is what
yeah.
I have because I yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest of my other gauges don't start with any ticks in them.
Yeah, that's correct.
They work oddly.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, for Katie and Jocasta, you will say, yeah, it will say mark 1 tick in 2 boxes and 2 in the rest. So if you want to do that now as well, it will tell you which ones to do. There's no choice to make on that, so it's nice and simple. And these ones you can just leave in red because those ones can be you can get rid of those by taking certain actions, essentially.
So I'm taking 2 more in lack then.
I can't. So I'll just check on your one. So for you are the icon. So you mark 1 tick, 1 extra tick in infamy and blood, and then 2 in all of the others. So yeah, but as I said, those red ones can be much more easily removed by taking certain actions in the city to address them. Cool. So and yeah, I said yeah, Jocasta, because yours are a bit different. You don't start out with any of those other than that black mark. Cool. Right, that's that bit done. So the next thing we're going to be doing is our contacts. These are, you'll see on the on your character again these are in both the on the actual PDFs itself, and they're also in the where it says major covenants in the playbook. You will have the option from 3 contacts. They will give you a which zodiac sign, which tarot card they are associated with, and an idea for who they might be, or an inspiration for who they might be. So, for example, I'll just grab the authorities ones. It's you have their options are the Chariot, which is the rival who spurs you to excel, the Fool, which is the novice you're teaching, or the Magician, which is the headhunter scouting you. You'll choose one of those. We'll hear a little about them, give them a name. You'll record their tarot card, and that will essentially give you some additional powers that you can use both in the castle and in the city. But I think what we'll do is we're just coming up to the half hour now. So if we say take a break till 35 past, and then obviously take a break. But if you also want to start thinking about your contact, and then we'll do that when we get back. Okay, awesome. So as I said, we'll go through and detail out your your contacts, who you start with, so just saying to just now, but you'll each have a covenant, a starting covenant, which starts at rank 1 with the contact you detail. You will also have another link and another rank 1 covenant with one of the other NPCs that we have created. So basically one of the other characters' contacts. You can, for that one, you can either use one of the contact ideas that you haven't already used to detail that link, or you can just pick a a random, well, say no random. You can pick a different way that you are connected to them and choose a tarot card as appropriate. If you don't have an immediate idea for which tarot card you want a bit of time to think on that, we can just set up the link now and worry about the actual covenant later. That's also fine. Because I know I certainly don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of tarot cards to hand. So I don't expect any of you to either. Any of you, yeah. Cool. So with that said, yeah. So Katie, who have you chosen as your contact?
So I was thinking for Katie's contact, I've chosen the auteur, which is the coach guiding your growth. And the thing that came to mind was basically her agent with the agency that she's represented by.
Cool.
I haven't really come up with any details yet. So let's.
No worries. I can come back around if you want to. Yeah, like come up with a name and some details if that's. But yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you. Yes. So. Sorry, Harley. Which who have you chosen for your contact?
I've chosen Death, which is, I lost the description. A critically ill confidant, unsure if they'll be able to find treatment. And I think this is, I had a name, Auntie Simone. She's an elderly woman, like late 70s, early 80s, maybe.
So could you repeat the name again? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, sorry, Auntie Simone, like Aunt Simone.
Yeah,
Auntie.
Cool.
And she's basically in and out of the hospital all the time. She's a patient with various illnesses. She has all kinds of health issues. Yeah. And we've struck up a kind of friendship. I smuggle in some candy for her and smuggle her up onto the roof so she can smoke. And we swap stories and that sort of. If that's, I'm not sure how much this the tarot card is supposed to inform like the character of this person, but that was my initial idea.
Yeah, no, that's a really nice idea. That's cool. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. And Jocasta, who have you gone for your initial contact?
And so much broader. I need a moment.
No worries. No worries.
Um, um, her name is Joan. She's a knight in, you know, armor and everything.
Cool.
I've asked her if she's Joan of Arc, and she refuses to answer the question. She was once very important, and she's been tossed away.
Perfect.
And there's a strong sort of protector element in there, at least in her original role. And the way, you know, knights are supposed to be protector and full of faith and things like that. And you know, she's a cast off, and all that's been brought into question. Her, I think she's a cast off because she left her vassal when she realized that her vassal was a bad person. So, I mean, who fired, you know, whether she quit or she was fired is an interesting question.
Yeah.
But yeah, she believed that her vassal was, you know, doing the right thing, was bringing order, when her vassal was actually just grasping for power.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
And so, yeah, it's almost a samurai mindset, but I didn't want her to be Japanese.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Because it just didn't feel right for Jocasta. But yeah, so yeah, but it's very much kind of a, you know, Ronin, and, you know, someone used to have a very well-defined, strong, you know, protector / warrior role, and is now, you know, now is no one. And Jocasta is very attracted to her because, among other things, because they're very unlike.
Yeah.
They have like one. They both have the similarity of having sort of dogged refusal to give in. Otherwise, they're very different personality-wise. So.
Perfect. No, that's brilliant. Thank you.
And as my secondary contact, it's obviously Auntie Simone, so who knew me back when I was still alive. And I took care of her. I was took care of her at one point.
That's nice. I'll just add that in now while I'm.
Says add the Nobles Rebels contact as rank 1 covenant.
Yeah.
And so.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Katie, I'll come back round to you. And do you have a little more, any more thoughts on your agent?
So yeah, the agent's name is Kelly Lowell. She's very hands-on kind of agent. Checks in on clients and make sure they're they're doing okay in like personal life and professionally. It's a kind of polite interest, but you know, it's like making sure everything's okay, but only because like they're like a valuable, client, and they want to keep them viable, basically. But it's got that sort of feel of like,
genuinely takes care of her, if not for purely altruistic reasons, but not like but not like entirely like two-faced and scheming, just like it's my job to make sure you're okay, so I'm going to make sure you're okay kind of thing. Yeah. Cool. No, that's great. Brilliant. Thank you. I'll come back around to Harley. Well, the one thing I will say now as well, obviously, like I said, you have the opportunity to have another link with someone else's contact. But if you want to wait until we have Sabine back next week, see who their contact is, and if you'd like to link with them instead, that is also cool. But if like you already have a strong impression of who it might be, then that's that's also cool. But yeah, so Harley, do you think you have an idea for? Do you think you'd like one of these people to be your sort of secondary contact?
I think I'll wait until next time to be sure. But of these two, I'd lean towards Joan, the knight, but I'm not sure what the connection would be. So we'll keep it for next time.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. That is more than fair. In which case, then, I will ask you if to give the somewhere in the city that either that has like some connection to Harley, or somewhere that they care about, or somewhere that sort of represents what they are. It can be any place really. Probably outside the hospital at this stage is good, just so to broaden our horizons a bit. But other than that,
think maybe someplace like local bar or pub or something like that. The really friendly local kind of place. Not a chain or anything like that, but just a local friendly bar.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good. Do you think this is like somewhere local to the hospital, like somewhere he might go after work, or is this somewhere closer to where he lives? Or does he live near the hospital, I suppose, is the other question on that. But yeah.
I think he lives not super close. He like he takes the like a train or subway or something
Yeah.
to the hospital, but it's not across town or anything. It's not.
Yeah.
But it's some ways away, and the bar is definitely closer to where he lives.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I was just looking at the hangout moves,
Oh yeah, yep.
and like looking at my characters, I don't feel like that fits so much for Katie. That she dares somebody to do something dangerous. So I was wondering if I could maybe change that or so.
Yeah, so if you want to change your crew covenant, which is what that is at the moment, then feel free to do so. I think you had strength and the lovers as your other choices. So if one of those is closer to what you feel is good for Katie, then that's fine by me.
I'll go with strength, I think.
Yeah, cool, not a problem. Yeah, this is very much time for making those little changes, so no, that's cool. So yeah, just as because your crew covenant works ever so slightly different to your other covenants. So basically you'll see, I'll just explain this now because it came up. Obviously, yeah, you said you've got the hangout moves there. Generally, if you hang out with one of your contacts, so for instance, if you hang out with your agent, then you trigger their move, and they give you in that case they can offer you a job, and you get to decide what it is and blah blah blah, and you can do that when you hang out with your agent. The one from your crew covenant that triggers when when you hang out with other of the player characters. So for instance, if you and another player character hang out, then essentially they'll trigger your crew hangout and you'll trigger their crew hangout, is how that works. Which, as I said, mostly just an aside because that came up. But yeah, cool. No, thank you. So with that said, yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Just to make sure I understand it. So if Katie and Harley hang out, does that mean because I have the gardener, so does my move trigger for me or does it trigger for Katie?
That triggers for Katie. So
okay.
will. So for instance, yeah, you will give Katie something to look after, and Katie can help you deal with a condition.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
But yeah, if you go and hang out with Auntie Simone, then you'll trigger that move that you have with her. So when you can ask, they can ask you about one of your regrets or what have you. Awesome. So yeah, with that, do you have an idea for what this bar is called? Sorry, Harley, before I move on.
Not off the top of my head. I have to think of something.
Cool. I'll just I'll put in a temporary name for now. Awesome. That is fine. So yeah, Jocasta, I will ask you if there's a location in the city that means something to Jocasta, maybe somewhere she used to hang out when she was alive, or or anything else you think might be an interesting location to introduce.
So what do we have so far for locations?
So far, we've got obviously the hospital itself,
Right.
and we've got Harley, the bar that Harley goes to. Those are the only two locations we've sort of formally established so far.
I think it's a dance club. Kind of an underground, warehouse space where you get new talent. And it's called. It's called the Black Box. And it's just as spare as can. I mean, it's it looks like nothing from the outside.
Yeah.
It's in license zoned industrial. And it doesn't look like much more on the inside, except that there's a bar and there's some dance lights, and a little stage, big speakers. But it's a great place to go and get lost. When you're stressed.
Yeah.
Just to go and just let the music wash over you. And it's always interesting. There's always the music's always interesting. And sometimes it's really great.
Brilliant.
They have a DJ, but they get in a lot of, as I said, live, little live bands that either don't have very high horizons or are just getting started. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's where Jocasta would routinely drag people to this club when they were feeling down. She would like, nope, you're not staying home. You're going dancing. And everybody knew her. I mean, there are a lot of people who knew her there. I mean, they didn't necessarily know who she was.
Yeah, recognized her, yes.
No, but they would have recognized her because she had she just had a way. She danced with complete abandon and with incredible joy and that sort of thing.
Nice. I like it. Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much. I'll come back around to Katie. So Katie, I'll ask again same question as Harley. Do you have an idea for someone that might be your secondary contact now, or again would you rather wait and see what Sabine brings to the table next time?
I think I'll wait and see what Sabine comes up with, because the idea of Joan appeals to me, but I don't see a way to connect them right now.
Yeah, yeah, we can certainly work something out. But yeah, no, that's more than fair. We can take a look at that next time. That's not a problem. And yeah, is there a location in the city that you'd like to bring in, something that means something to either something that means something to Katie, or just something that you think would be cool to have in, and that you might have some loose connection to?
The studio where she works.
Cool.
Probably like some sort of TV production company studio. Need to come up with a name for it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we can come up with something for that in time. I think the TV studio is probably a good enough placeholder for now. We can always give it a fancier name next time. Awesome. So we've got that now. The next bit we do as well is start adding in a couple of like links between different NPCs or locations and stuff like that. But I think we'll leave that for now. We might do a little bit of that next time when we have Sabine here, when we've got their contact in place, and we can sort of go through that in more detail then. So yeah, I think with all that said and done, because I said because we're a player down, so we can and we wanted to make a bit of an early finish anyway. So I think that we will leave things there unless there is anything else anyone wanted to ask or clarify or anything before before we go. But other than that,
I have a name for the bar.
oh, cool.
It's called Jim's Bar.
Perfect.
It's very imaginative, but it's a very low key place, so it has a low key name.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're just the bartenders are very evasive about who Jim is. If anyone asks.
I like that. Cool. No, that's perfect. No, that's brilliant. But yeah, no. So if other than that, if everyone is happy with where we are, we'll leave things there for the evening. So thank you very much, everyone. And I'm going to stop our recording.